What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome in. Time to break the draft down. The first, get a like, share, comment, subscribe on YouTube, auto download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. All right, let's get into the draft. The first pick was Fernando. We was expecting that. That was a great pick, right? The consensus around the league, that pick was fantastic. Let's move on. The next pick number 38, was Traden Stukes. This was a bit of a reach for me. I initially thought that they would select Caden McDonald, a defensive tackle from Ohio State. They did not. Not only did they not select him at 36, they traded back with the Houston Texans, picked up pick number 92, which they would use later, and went with pick number 38, in which they picked Traden Stukes. My first reaction was, if you wanted a safety, why didn't you just pick a legitimate safety? You guys know I wanted Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I wanted EMAC on the Raiders. There was no question about it. He was here. He was available at this time, at this pick 38. And I wish the Raiders would have just taken him, but they didn't. Time will tell. Time will tell if the pick is cool or not, right? We'll see what type of careers these two young men have. McNeil-Warren ended up getting picked, I believe, number 58 overall to the Browns. Right? So quite a few picks later, but I believe still in the same round. But McNeil-Warren was definitely available. And the Raiders didn't go that way. They went with Traden Stukes, a guy that he was listed at corner on the prospect list at first. But as I watched the film after the Raiders drafted him, he played some safety. He lines up in kind of hybrid positions, man. He'll be inside, he'll be in the box, he'll be deep. He can kind of do it all, to be honest with you, as far as lining up. So I think they had him at corner because he was more of a slot, like nickel corner initially. And, he's a guy that can play safety and blitz and cover and tackle. So after I saw the tape, first thing I saw, he ran the 4.34. He ran the 4.34. I'm like, all right, shit, at least he's fast, right? So when I saw him run the 4.34 and then watched the tape, man, I was actually all right with the pick. I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with y'all. So the next pick was Keyron Crawford, edge rusher from Auburn. Initially, I'm like, man, this is a reach. They could have had Romello Height. They could have had Jaysean Barham. You guys know I wanted Jaysean. I did video on him. He was supposed to last into the hundreds, which he did not. However, he was available at this pick right here. And had they picked Jaysean Barham at this time, I probably wouldn't have said they reached, because I felt like he was that good of a player. I would immediately thought they knew something that we didn't. Somebody was going to draft him sooner, which they did. The Cowboys drafted him at 93. Jaysean Barham, that is. They drafted him at 93. So when I first looked at this, the pick right here with Kenyon Crawford, I was like, it's a bust, because we picked him at 67. He was the 81st rated prospect. You never want to do that. You never want to be that many picks off of where the guy was rated at. That means you're overpicking him. You're overpicking him, period. When I looked into it further, they had 13 edge rushers rated higher than him. At the moment, the let me see. At the moment, that last guy it escapes me, but the 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 one guy that was rated slightly higher than him was Romello Height. All right. Um, and the other guy was Danny Dennis Sutton. Danny Dennis Sutton ended up going a couple picks later, even after Wesley Williams and Jay Sean Barham. So it was Height to the Niners, Barham to the Cowboys, Williams to the Jaguars, and Danny Dennis Sutton to Green Bay. So Danny Dennis Sutton and Romello Height was rated higher than Keyron Crawford on the prospect list. However, not by a lot at all. Right? These guys were within a couple points of rankings of each other, like 5 total. So that simply came down to them having the Raiders brass, Raiders coaching staff, the Raiders scouts, subsequently the Raider GM, John Spytek, and them having a higher rating for Crawford than they did for Height and Dennis Sutton, basically. That's all that means, man. So when they came to the podium for pick number 67, 11 of the 13 guys rated higher than Keyron Crawford were gone already. So when you look at it like that, it really wasn't that bad of a reach. It wasn't a reach at all. They just had a higher ranking on him than they did on Height and Sutton, which were players that allegedly were ranked higher than him. Jason Barham ended up going higher than expected, and so did Keyron Crawford, basically. So this one was not a reach for this edge rusher from Auburn. Guy just start playing football in high school. I think they said senior year in high school. So you got to be a pretty awesome player to get offered, to a big time school. He went to Auburn. He got offered a big time scholarship, right, from a big time school after playing 1 year of high school football. Should kind of remind me of somebody I know. Yeah, he went to Auburn. Then ended up going to Auburn, started. Now he's been drafted in the 3rd round by the Las Vegas Raiders after starting playing football as a senior in high school. Man, that deserves some cheers. You know what I'm saying? That is pretty serious, man. I'll give him props on that. Because that's something that just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? The kid just basically start playing football. And yeah, you might could get drafted, but usually you're like a project 6th, 7th round guy that somebody takes a flyer on. This guy being drafted at 67 overall, he's expected to play. He's expected to make the team and play. For a kid that just started playing football, sounds like no more than 5 years ago. And it's pretty remarkable. So what I initially thought was a reach from the Raiders when they got Keyron Crawford is actually a pretty basic pick, right? Pretty standard pick. It was not a reach because, like I said, all those edge rushers were gone, man, and they wanted an edge rusher. If you wanted an edge rusher and they got 13 guys rated ahead of your guy on the prospect list, you have 11 of them ranked ahead of your guy, perhaps. Maybe you have less than that ranked ahead of them. But when it comes to your pick, 11 of them dudes are gone. There's only like 3 dudes left. So they picked the guy that they wanted, Keyron Crawford, man. I'll say that wasn't a reach. It was just kind of like an on-par pick. Okay. Now the next pick, the same round, 24 picks later. This is so that was 67. So Yeah, like I said, pick number 91. Right? Pick 67 and 24 more spots. This would be 91. Yep. Pick number 91. They selected Trey Zoom. They got him listed as center, Texas A&M. He was listed as a tackle at first on the prospect list, and then it was stated that he would move to interior O line. So he can play everything, center, guard, and tackle. And he played it at Texas A&M. He started for 4 years. This dude is a guy that can block, and he's also a guy that Raider Ragu said the Raiders should draft. People tried to tell me he was too slow, and that there was other guys that were better. And yeah, the Raiders drafted this kid. So once again, just like last year when Raider Ragu, that's me, predicted the Darian Porter pick, I did it again. I predicted the Trey Zoom pick, and they picked him. Uh, I got videos to prove it. Just go on my channel. It's one guy already gave me my props immediately. As soon as the pick was in, he put he commented on my video about Trey Zoom from last month or from earlier this month. So yeah, man, I picked Trey Zoom and the Raiders got him. Now, I had it as a bit of a reach. I felt like Trey Zoom could be a fourth rounder, right? But perhaps, I don't know any. What do I know? But the fact of the matter is he went ahead of a few of those linemen that were supposedly, allegedly ranked higher than him. And the Raiders jumped up and took him at 91. And I think they did it because they knew something. They knew that he would not last. The pro scouts had him rated higher than the mock draft people, obviously. So good pick right there. I could see him actually pushing to start at one of the guards. I could really see that. Or maybe they're using him as like a swing lineman, period. I don't know, but he's a good piece to have added to what we have on the offensive line. So Trey Zoom was picked in the third round as well. So then the Raiders got to the fourth round. At the first pick of the fourth round that they got off of Houston,